Good morning, it's Saturday, and that means we got a riding day ahead of us. We found a safe place to pull off and sleep for the night, and when we woke up, we had a beautiful view of Mt Shasta.
We've never ridden here before near Mt Shasta. This is the Gateway and Tunnel Trail system. Excited to check this out. It's all easy riding, but it's supposed to be beautiful.
This is a super mellow trail, so this would be a good first timer or beginner trail. But it's still good exercise and spectacular scenery no matter what level you're riding, so we're glad to be out here.
Slidey on the pine needles. If you ask Fender if he wants some water and he licks his lips, that means he's thirsty. Northern California knows how to make some fun trails. Huge props to the Trail Builders Associations up here. Super flowy. Even though it's not technical or bumpy, it's really smooth. It's a fantastic trail for all riding abilities. Good job, guys, and thank you. What a fun way to spend an afternoon out here. That's a bad place to be when your dot is at the lowest point on the whole trail. That means a lot of climbing. But that is a good place to be when we're up there. That means all descent. Today's newbie tip is to shift. A lot of new riders are scared of the shifter. I'm not sure why that is. I don't know if it's because they don't know what it works. If they do it wrong, it makes all these grinding noises. But shifting technology has gotten so good. I shift every 30 seconds. You should be shifting a lot. And the reason you want to shift is so you're always in your optimal power range. So to keep it easy, I try to do 1 revolution a second. That's a good starting point. Some people like to spin faster. Some people like to spin slower and really grind it out. Try 1 a second. So you pedal a full revolution every second. If you're spinning too fast, shift to a harder gear. If you're pedaling too slow, get in an easier gear. And just try that. Try shifting all the time. Also, be in a gear, even if you're coasting for a long time, that does something. In other words, you don't want to be in your really low gear where you're spinning really fast, climbing, working your way up, and then you go down, you stay in your low gear. When you need to pedal, it's in the wrong gear and you're just moving too fast. That's a bad thing. Also, when you see a hill coming up, you want to anticipate that and shift early. Get into your climbing gear before you're at the hill. Another tip, don't shift. Don't put a lot of tension on the chain, just like cranking on it when you're shifting. Shift, but ease up off the pedals. Just spin them without a lot of torque on there. That'll make your shifts way crisper and not just mashing, and it'll make everything last a lot longer. So when it comes time for me to shift, I'll shift, but ease up on the pedals no matter which direction I'm going. And then once it's made its shift, then I'm hard on the pedals again. Nowadays, a lot of bikes don't have a front shifter. They just have, this is an 11 speed. My shifter's right here. I don't even have one over here. If you do have a shifter on the left and it's confusing you, just keep it in either the smallest gear or the medium gear and master your right hand shifting. Once you've mastered your right hand shifting, then you can play with the left hand shifting. Shifting's not scary. It shouldn't be. Your derailleur shouldn't be clicking all the time. If it is, get a tune-up. But shifting should be crisp and clean. If you keep your bike clean and your chain lubed and not over-lubed, shifting should be a no-brainer, and eventually your brain's just going to realize, oh, I'm in too fast of a gear or too slow of a gear, and your fingers will know exactly what to do. Don't worry about which one goes up, which one goes down. Just try it. Don't be afraid of hitting the wrong gear. Click. Get in a gear. If it was the wrong one, click the other one. Don't think about it too much, but do be shifting a lot. Don't be afraid of that thing. It's meant to help you, not to hurt you. Yay! We are at the top of the highest point. It's all downhill from here. 3 miles. Looks like somebody lost a chain. Bummer. That's why you always carry a spare link and a tool to change it. Get that bike loose under you, moving around. Good. You got it. Nice riding. Keep looking ahead. You're doing great. Leaning on that right thigh hard. And find the berm. Look at the berm and say, where's it going to support me the most? And ride it there. Pick the line. Yeah, that was it. Brake before and coast through. Brake now, off. Brake now, off. Fly up this, catch some air. Yeah. Right, bend it to the right, to the left. I want to see it over exaggerated, like you're trying to make fun of the concept. Yes. Keep doing that. You'll start feeling it. Pick the traction spot. Good, that was great. Best part of the trail. The climb wasn't bad. My favorite part was this section through here and Pig Farm. That was awesome. We didn't get to see, oh, we did see Fern Loop, but we didn't ride it. I wonder what that's like. Pig Farm was great.
That was a great trail day, great workout. Nothing super crazy or technical, but excellent opportunity to practice technique and enjoy the beautiful scenery. It's cool being in the shadow of Mount Shasta, riding on my mountain bike.
One of the biggest challenges we're finding with the Vanlife is where to shower. And we could use our rinse kit. In fact, that reminds me we should probably fill that up. Which, it's kind of hard to actually find a place where you can just hook a hose up and take water without paying for it, or even with paying for it. We've been calling KOAs and we've been calling campsites, and no one will let you just use the shower. Sure, you could sneak in there and use it anyway, but that's not really our style. We found a truck stop that'll let us shower there. That sounds absolutely disgusting, but it might be our last option.
So I was kind of counting on the fact that a lot of RV parks usually have a shower rate that, you know, hikers can come in and shower. But what I'm finding, and having talked to the visitor center here at Mount Shasta, they do get some transients who come up here in the warmer weather, and they tend to leave things kind of trashed.
So, long story short, because of the large homeless population in this area, nobody offers just showers, because then they'd have to discriminate between homeless people and not homeless people. We want to think about getting a hot water heater on the van. We've had it on our last Tacoma. It's a cool little heat exchanger, get from my buddy Kurt at Cruiser Outfitters. It goes through a little radiator, turns cold water hot, and then comes out a little shower head. We might do that. We need a little gravel spot or a campground or a place to pull off and shower. But I'm trying to find an elegant way to live in a van without feeling like a hobo everywhere I go. Just kind of, I don't want to tarnish the image of people who do choose to live in a van, because I don't know what I'm doing and I'm just a gross person. We're having a problem with the battery bank. It's simply not charging off the alternator, even when I manually connected it to the other house battery or the other starting batteries. I'm gonna have to figure that out. We let it get down to 11 volts, which is super bad for batteries. You'd think a 12 volt battery getting down to 6 volts would be halfway, but that's not how voltage works. So you don't want it to get below 12.4, 12.2 at the lowest, and it's like 10.8 right now. We're doing a lot of damage to the battery. So I'm gonna need to pull that apart and figure out what's going on. By the time you see this, it will have been a month in the past, and so we appreciate your advice, but we probably figured it out in real life by now, and we will show you the video when we do figure that out. In order to get at the batteries, I have to take my shelf apart. I've got my tools with me and the pocket screw square head thing. Let's take a look. Okay, I'm still a little bit stumped. So, this is 9.9 volts, that's 9.9 volts, that's the isolator. The isolator's supposed to join those when it sees 13 volts from over there, meaning the alternator's charging and it'll charge all these. The isolator hasn't been seeing 13.8 volts, so it hasn't been turning on. So I've manually turned it on, which is okay to do. It's just fine. You just apply 12 volts to this little lead here, and it will switch. In fact, listen, you'll hear it. So it'll switch, and then all 4 van batteries are connected in parallel. But once we've done that, we've had that for 2 days now, connected in parallel, it's still not charging these guys. So I disconnected this. My main battery under the hood is 12.2 volts when it's off, 13.4 volts when it's charging, or when the engine's running, which is great. That means the alternator's giving it power. That's a good thing. The battery underneath the frame is getting alternator juice, but not as much as the one up front. So anyway, I don't know exactly what's happening. Texting my buddy Corbin. While we're going here, while I've got this all taken apart, I'm going to wire the fantastic fan in here too, and maybe add one more auxiliary piece of wiring in here just so I never have to take this all apart again. Now that I say that, I'm going to have to take it apart like weekly. But I kind of enjoy the problem solving thing. What I really enjoy is that it's a weekend and I'm not trying to get it back together for work. Though I would like this inverter to work on Monday so we can top off the laptops a little bit more. Well, I've isolated the house batteries, and what I've come to determine with my buddy Corbin is the frame battery, the one under the frame here, is only reading 11.8 volts while the engine's idling, so it's not getting the full current from the alternator. So there's something missing or loose or not quite connected between the battery over there in the hood and the battery under the frame. Those are the stock starting batteries. Once that's getting 13 volts, it should trickle into here, open up the solenoid here, and charge these at 13 volts too, albeit a little slower because now the alternator is charging a bigger water tank, if you follow our analogy of batteries and all that. So if I fix that, it should fix the low voltage problem I have in here. Fingers crossed. I really wish I had a garage here where I could just climb under there and work on it. We're in a parking lot of a Rite Aid pharmacy. I'm gonna move, see if I can find a rest stop along the side of the freeway. That'd be a more relaxing place to trace wiring issues. Can't wait till these are charging off the alternator. I kind of want to experiment and see just how much solar I need and how bad I need solar if the alternator might be able to charge these. So we're going to drive on up to a rest stop. We are headed to the city of Weed, W-E-E-D. Yes, there's a city called Weed in California. Pretty interesting. And we're going to go to that rest stop, check some of the wires, and then continue on to a town called Happy Camp. We got a few interesting symptoms here. I'm thinking I have a loose ground wire somewhere. The question is where, and I have no idea yet. So here are some of the issues it's working. The lock and unlock switch does nothing. Windows does something, which is nice. When I turn on the brights, all the dash lights and all these lights go off. This stays on because that's wired straight to the battery. From time to time, it will idle and then stall and totally turn off. That's my cam position sensor, which I may fix right now while I'm here too. Also, the parking lights don't work. They were partly working and now they don't work at all. So I'm thinking I've got a ground lift somewhere, and that would be awesome if one stupid little wire that came disconnected would fix all of those issues. Probably not going to happen, but I'm going to try and go find it. Anyway, I tried to find a spot that wasn't covered in grease, or I could lay on the ground in a little bit more cleanliness before we take our shower at camp tonight. Got the old cam position sensor out and the new one in. It took about 10 or 15 minutes. I don't know what wire this is, but it's not looking good. It's one, supposed to be connected to something. Two, supposed to be insulated. I have no idea what that goes to. I'm gonna have to chase that. Oh, there's another ground wire. Good. Just found two. That goes to the frame. And this one goes to the engine block. It's still connected and it looks pretty clean. None of this is mandatory, so I'm taking my time, just kind of checking a lot of stuff. It's not like the van's broken and it won't go anywhere. I'm just trying to get that second battery to charge better so we can run the inverter and top off our batteries from the alternator up here. I'm 99% sure I found the problem. So this wire is the one that connects the rear batteries to the front batteries. For some reason I was thinking it was this wire, and I was getting them confused, and I think this just wasn't on there tight enough. This also has some play in the stud back and forth, which makes me a little nervous. See if I can make it move. Yeah, see that? That's not good. So I think it just got loose and there wasn't a great connection, so I loosened it up, took the wire wheel to both of them. I think some of this rubber could have been in between there pinching it too. And right now I'm modifying this little bolt, or this nut. It's for quick jump starts. I don't need that. I need the nut with the threads more and I need it shorter. So I'm gonna cut this into two and use that to solve all my problems, hopefully. This is the glamour of full-time van life. In a rest stop next to a giant truck, using a vice grip as a vise and your pocket hacksaw to cut it. But I got all the stuff. I'm glad I had everything I need. Fingers crossed this works. Here's another tip for some of you who may be new to hacksaws. I know I was impressed and it changed when I learned this. Hacksaws have a cutting direction. A lot of people just go faster and faster and faster. That actually burns up your blade. So if you look at a blade, a good blade, especially like a Lennox, will show you which direction is the cutting direction. That way, for me, it's easier, especially with this saw, to pull than to push. Pushing it gets all bent and crazy. So there you go. Hacksaws have a direction. Don't just start hacking away as fast as you can. Think about it and cut in the right direction. This is brass, so it's cutting really well. Brass is a softer metal than steel and a lot of other metals, so it's a good one when you need to hammer on stuff. You don't want to mar it or you don't want to leave big dents in it. Let the brass take the beating. In this case, you thread it onto that stud, and this will strip before the stud will strip, which is good. This totally feels like an episode of Roadkill, only they wouldn't have spent 3 or 4 hours diagnosing the problem. They would have jumped right on it. Alright, I got the bronze nut cut in half. It's not super smooth, so we're going to use this ultra high precision file. Let's see if this fixes it. Fingers crossed. Still feel like that inner rubber is messing up the contact, the connection. That looks a lot better. Directly on. Still moving a little in there. Yeah, check this out. The threads stop right there, and this is bottoming out. I wonder if this is aftermarket and it's not thick enough and it doesn't take up all that slack. Ha! So I'm going to do a temporary fix, and I'm going to drill this out. Use this as a, unless I drop it. Got my magnet ready. I'm going to drill this out, use it as a spacer to go in there. Then this will push it in and pick up all the slack. Fixing cars is not difficult. Troubleshooting them with a level head and patience is difficult. But that's also kind of the fun part about it, is thinking, okay, where does this lead to? Where's it coming from? How do those things react? My problem is I'm a little bit intimidated by electrical stuff. I'm learning more and more, but whenever I have an electrical problem, I give up too early. I don't have patience and I don't think it through and check everything because I assume I'm the problem, not something else. And I'm learning to have more confidence in my electrical skills, and my buddy Corbin pushed me to just keep trying, and he helped me realize it's not rocket science. Something is missing, and just take it apart and find out what it is. So big thanks to you, Corbin, again. I'm totally having a roadkill moment. This is all I've got, and this is how you turn a nut into a washer. Got it. Yes, oh yeah. That takes up the slack that was in the stud part right there with no threads. Oh, that's the best connection that has ever seen since I've owned it. I think the previous owner cheaped out. I've seen him cheap out on a few different parts of how he fixed this, and now I'm having to pay the price. But man, this is going together a lot better. Oh, it's so beautiful. Alright, that's not going anywhere. Let's put my other loads on. That's a ham radio. This is an amplifier, and this is an amplifier. Woo. And now I got this. A little bit larger than the last one I had. It's gonna work though. Yeah. Alright, now remember, this is hot. If I were to like drop a wrench across these, it would weld the wrench to them, and so I want to cover this up so nothing else can hit it. Oh, beautiful. I think I've solved the problem with the alternator not charging the second battery. It wasn't connected very well, so the alternator's current couldn't get to it very well. When this problem started, the front battery registered at 12.5 volts, and every other battery registered at 10 volts because we were draining and they weren't getting any current. Let's see what they register at now. 12.4, way better. Let's go start the van and see if it goes up. All right, we solved it. I'm so happy. A little bit of persistence, a lot of help from my friend Corbin, and a lot of just trial and error and using logic to trace it back through, and we got it fixed. Now, we should be able to use our inverter once that gets all charged up. The other day we had lunch with our friend Ben Sykes, who helped me prepare my resume and really gave me the motivation that I needed to get my mobile job. And he was asking me at dinner, how did you learn to get so good at cars? And A, I'm not so good at cars. I'm okay. I just have a lot of confidence. B, no one really taught me. My father, I would watch him do the brakes and he'd say, hand me wrenches, and I'd hand him the wrenches and stuff. But it wasn't until he died and I got into college and that I had to do it myself that I realized I better learn how to do this. I went out, I bought the Chilton manual, which is the manual to your car, and it tells you how to do everything. Couple that with YouTube and anybody can learn this. You guys know I'm not a genius. You've seen me do tons of stupid stuff and mess up with lots of things. The reason I show that is so you can be motivated and realize anyone can learn to do what I've learned to do. I'm not some special case. I taught myself, I asked questions on forums, I read a lot, I researched, and I went out and did it. And anyone else can too. I taught myself how to weld. And when I say I taught myself, I used friends and leaned on mentors who knew what they were doing to teach me and gave me corrective feedback. That was all part of my learning process. You can do the exact same thing. So don't be afraid to dive in. Now, if it's brakes or steering, those are the two things that you don't want to go wrong, so definitely have an experienced person around. But if it's like changing your tail light, or you can't figure out why it makes this weird clunk when you go over a bump, think about it. Think, what's moving? How do cars work? And if you don't know, start simple and do a little bit of research. You can do it. Anyone can do it. And there's something extremely gratifying about fixing that myself instead of paying some shop $500 to $800 to do that and have it tied up for a week where we couldn't use it. So there will still be days when I can't solve the problem and I have to take it to a shop, but today was a win. And I'm so proud of that. And you can have wins like this in the future too. Well, that took about 4 hours to diagnose and 20 minutes to fix. But we're getting ready to hit the road again. We're gonna go into camp, and then we're going to be taking a much needed shower.